Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And today's topic, it's talking about no. No. So many people struggle to say that. Such an easy word, isn't it? But so many people struggle to say the word no, especially when you're a single parent, because you become the one that everyone relies on. You become the person that has to be flexible. So you feel like you have to do it. But the more you keep saying yes, the more you're sending yourself into burnout, into exhaustion, and the more resentment you have built up towards other people. Because you just think, well, why aren't they doing this for me? Why aren't they offering to help me out? Because I'm saying yes to them all the time. So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about saying no. And let's normalize it a bit more. Let's normalize saying no and realize you're not a bad person for doing it. You're just looking after yourself and your needs. So let's unpack the word no. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So let's dive in. Now, saying no when you're a single parent, it becomes such a scary thing. It's scary territory for some people because they've convinced themselves if they say no to something, it's going to make you look like a bad person. It's going to make you look like you're being nasty or you're being mean, when it doesn't. Saying no is actually the complete opposite. However, when you've just come from a breakup as a single parent, you're carrying all these emotions, and guilt is one of the biggest things that so many single parents carry or they hold on to. So that is one of the main reasons why so many single parents in that situation, they don't say no, because it's that guilt, especially when it comes to their kids. They overcompensate and they keep saying yes. In the dating world, they're not sure, they're not ready, so they say yes. With their ex, they don't know how to say no. They don't know how to set boundaries. They're not sure how to communicate with their ex yet. So they just give in. They're not saying no. And there's so much more to it. There's the fear of being seen as being difficult or being too hard and being selfish and being uncooperative. And one of the biggest reasons I see a lot here in my line of work as a single parent coach is so many single parents give in to their ex especially, and give in to other people and do things for everyone else because they just want to keep the peace. They don't want drama. They don't want fighting. So they think that saying no is going to cause drama. They think that saying, no, I can't do this, is going to start conflict. So they just give in and say yes. They'll just keep the peace. And quite often that comes from not being able to communicate their needs, not being able to set those boundaries. So let's just say yes to keep the peace. Meanwhile, inside you're angry, you're pissed off, you're starting to build resentment. You're annoyed at this, thinking, why do I have to keep doing this? You don't have to keep doing it, but the reason that you are is because you feel like you have to. You're convincing yourself this is what you need to do. And another thing that is very common in the single parent world is you're the strong parent. Look at you, you're so strong. How do you do this all on your own? So you convince yourself that you've got to keep putting on this brave face. You've got to keep being the strong person. So you don't say no, because strong people don't say no, do they? Strong people take on everything because you just don't know how to handle it any other way. You just convinced that you're strong. Your friends, your family tell you you're strong. So you keep putting on that strong, brave face and you keep doing it all without saying no. But the thing is, in the process to all this, in the process of constantly saying yes and giving in and people pleasing and not being sure how to speak up and communicate, not being sure how to set boundaries, not being sure if you're okay to say something different and to get out of your comfort zone and say, no, I can't do this. So you keep going along with it. But in the process, you are wearing yourself out. And it's not just in one part of your life where you say no. And it's very common when you're a single parent. It affects all areas. But some of the main areas, one is your kids. And that is because it's just you. You don't have the other parent to help you. You don't have someone else around the house to help you out. It's all on you. So the kids might ask for a bit of an extra time up at night, or they might ask for some extra screen time, or they might ask for that ice cream, where normally you'd say no. You just give in to keep the peace. Or when they're asking for something new, deep down you think, well, no, I can't afford this. It's just me now. I can't afford to do this. But then you don't want to let your kids down. So you just give in and you just do it. You just give them what they need because you think that's what you've got to do because you're their parent, so you just got to do it. But in the process, your bank account is in the red. You're like, holy shit, how am I going to pay my bills because I'm just doing all this stuff for the kids? Because you're not saying no. And another area where it impacts you a lot as a single parent is in co-parenting. And as I just said at the start, so many people when it comes to co-parenting, they just give in with their ex because they don't want drama. They think by saying their opinion, they think by setting boundaries, but they think by speaking up is going to cause conflict. So they say yes to everything. And then you end up being the one pissed off. You end up being the one missing out. You end up the one having to reschedule everything and change your plans around to suit your ex. You end up being the one having to sit around and waiting around. You end up being the one hurt and upset and being resentful towards your ex because you're giving your ex everything they want whilst you're sitting back thinking, what's just happened? Why am I the one getting screwed over again? In the kindest possible way, I'll tell you why. Because you're not saying no. That's why. And again, with the dating world, you go into the dating world, you meet someone, you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know. But you're too scared to say no. And this is another thing I see so often with single parents. They start dating again and they've gotten into it and they realize this is not going down the right path. And they get into these relationships because they keep saying yes. They haven't said no because they don't want to rock the boat. But here they are now confused, now unhappy, wanting to get out, but they don't know how. They don't know how to leave this relationship that's sucking the life out of them after they've already been through a huge breakup when they first became a single parent. And now here they are feeling like they're right back at square one, but they don't know how to change it because they feel like telling this person that they want to end it is telling them no. And so I see it so often where people just suck it up and they keep going along with this relationship that they're not happy with because they don't want to say no. They don't want to rock the boat. But meanwhile, they're upset. Meanwhile, you're feeling it. You've lost all your mojo. You've lost what lights you up. You're like, holy shit, I'm now back in this relationship. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of it. I'll tell you why. The same reason I've just said. Because you're not saying no. You're not believing in yourself to know that you can speak up and say no. You're not believing in yourself enough to say, I deserve better. I know I deserve better. And when you do believe in yourself, when you do have that confidence in yourself, you can speak up and say, hold on, this is not what I'm looking for. Now, with your kids, your ex, the dating world, as a single parent, they're the most common areas. But if you become a people pleaser and you're someone that's always saying yes, it affects all areas, not just those three things. But when you're a single parent, those are the main areas that it doesn't impact. But also it impacts areas like with your friends and with work, where they ask you to do something, or the work might ask you to stay back a bit longer, and deep down thinking, no, I've got to get home and get to the kids, or I've got plans, or I just want to go home and relax. And you think, okay, I'll just do it. I need to be done. Nobody else is going to do it. So you feel like it's on you. You've got to do it. Or like when it comes to your friends and they ask you for help, or they might ask you to go out one night and deep down you're like, I don't want to go out. I just want to stay home. I'm a single parent. I'm freaking exhausted. I just want some quiet time. But you feel like, well, they're asking me out. I can't say no. I should just go. I mean, it's great to go out and have a social life. It's great to get out and see your friends. But if you're just exhausted and deep down thinking, I really don't want to do this, then that's where you need to start saying no. Because with all these areas in life, and especially when it comes to co-parenting, when you keep giving in to your ex and they're constantly running late, or they're constantly changing their schedule, or they're constantly being the fun parent, or you feel like they're always just getting their way when it comes to co-parenting because you're not saying no. And then you get to a point, it's like, well, fuck, why are they got the easy job? Why are they the fun parent? Why are they getting away with everything? In the kindest possible way, again, because you're not saying no. You've got to believe in yourself. Now, saying no isn't always about saying, no, not doing it. I mean, it can be simple as that. But it's also about having your boundaries. It's also about knowing you have a life. It's also about knowing and believing that you don't deserve to be walked all over. You have just as much say in anything in your life as your ex, as your friends, as your kids. Well, actually more say in your life than your kids and anyone else. You don't have to keep putting your needs on hold because you're too scared to say no. Because that is when you keep building resentment. That is when you keep getting angry and hurt and upset because you're not getting what you want. You're not doing what makes you happy. You're constantly giving, and doing things for other people, doing things to make them happy. And then you get to a point and then you're like, well, hold on, I need help, but no one's here for me. Why is nobody asking me how I am? Why is nobody coming around to do this for me? Why is nobody offering this when I need something? The thing is, the difference is in these situations, quite often you're not just going out and offering it, they're asking you and you're saying yes. And then you're getting resentment because they're not just coming back and offering it back. But the thing is, you're not asking for it. And deep down in your head, you're probably thinking, well, I shouldn't have to ask because I've done it for them. But in their eyes, they may not think it's a tally system. They might not just think it's something that they need to repay. They may not realize anything of it because you've said yes, so they didn't realize it was an issue. And this is the thing, when you say yes to something, but you're not sure, it's okay to say yes and compromise. But this is where you need to have boundaries with it. Yes, but especially when you're co-parenting and especially in dating. Oh, and kids. Well, pretty much any area now that I say that aloud. You need to have your boundaries if you're saying yes, but you're a little bit not sure, where you're compromising on something. Say, for example, when you're co-parenting and your ex has asked to swap a date and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do that, but I'll do it on this occasion. Then you say yes, but as long as, or yes, but I need this. So that way you're not missing out. So that's more related to setting a boundary than it is to saying no. However, it is okay to also say no. It is okay to say, no, sorry, I can't do that. And we all get put in those positions all the time, not just with our ex or our kids or dating. Anything in life, people ask questions and you just think, oh, I should do it. I should just do it. Like, for example, I was selling something on Marketplace. It was a brand new dress that I bought for my daughter and it was too late to refund. So I'm selling it on Marketplace. And I've had a few people come back to me saying, can you post it? And I thought, no, I don't want to post it. And I know that may sound lazy on my end, but I'm not a supplier. I'm not a business that has stock that I post out on a daily basis. For me, posting a dress that I'm selling for half price, brand new dress with tags, I don't really want to have to go to the post office and sort out envelopes and sort out postage prices because I don't know how much postage costs. It costs difference per weight. And then you've got to work out all that. No, it's pickup. So I could have said, and to be honest with you, the reason why I said that is because ages ago I did sell something on Marketplace and I did agree to sell it, post it. And then I later regretted it because I lost money on it because of the postage cost way more than what I was expecting. So that's when I'm like, straight up, no, sorry, pick up only. And for me, that was an easy no, an easy boundary. But for some people, they'd probably read that and be like, oh yeah, okay, I probably should do that. And then again, they'd probably end up in the same situation that I was many years ago where I said yes and then regret it. And they're like, oh shit, I haven't made any money from this because the postage costs so much. These are situations where you can say no, where you need to start saying no. And you start doing it small. You don't just come off and be blunt and like, nope, fuck off, not doing it. You can just approach it in small ways where you feel comfortable. And this example that I just said then with Marketplace is probably a great place to start because you don't have to deal with them face to face. And as I always say, it's not about being rude or nasty or confrontational. It's really about stepping back and thinking about what you want. Do you want to do that? Does that bother you to have to go to the post office, sort out envelopes or boxes, sort out delivery costs, get all that done? Does that bother you? If not, then go do it. Say, yeah, sure, no problems, I'll do it. If it does, if that's adding so much extra workload to your current schedule and what you're already doing, all this extra running around, having to get to the post office during their opening hours, for some people that's impossible. It's hard to do because a lot of people work during those hours. And then you say yes, and you're like, shit, I can't even get there when it's open. I'm going to have to run there during my lunch break and lose half my lunch break to sell this marketplace item that doesn't even bother me that much if I sell it or not. I'm just trying to get rid of it because I can't use it. So I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but you get what I'm saying. When you're saying no, or when you saying yes, I should say, to something that you kind of sit back and go, well, I regret doing that. Before you say yes to something, I really want you to stop and think about, is this really what you want to do? Is this going to bother you? Are you going to later regret it and think, shit, I shouldn't have done that? And that's why it's important to really think about your decisions. And what I always say, you respond, not react. Because it's so easy to see a message, especially when it comes to a messenger or something, and they can see that you've read it straight away. Or when it comes from your ex or in the dating world or anything, and they see that you've read a message and you think, well, shit, I've now got to respond straight away. I should just say that, I should just agree to it just to make them happy. And then you're like, oh, shit, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go on a date with this person, but I've just gone and said yes. I don't want to do that for my ex, but I've just gone and said yes. Always respond, not react. And responding is allowing time to process what you've read. Read it, think about it. Sleep on it if you have to. Respond the next day. And saying yes, it really comes down to how much you believe in yourself, how much you believe in your decisions, how much you can trust yourself in making decisions, how much you trust what you're doing. And that's just it. It sounds simple, but a lot of people don't. And you see that a lot, like on social media. It's your prime example. I'm always talking about social media, but something we all use. And you see it on a daily basis. People asking all these questions. And sometimes I read these things and I think, you didn't need social media for this. You could have easily just sorted this out on your own. And it's not about being rude, but when you read those things, it's like, why are you not trusting yourself enough to make this decision? And some things are a bit different where they want opinions from different people, which is understandable. But you do see some people post questions on there. And a lot of the time, that comes down to people not believing in themselves. They're not believing that they can make that decision on their own. They feel like they need someone else to confirm that their decision's the right one. And this is why so many people say yes when they don't want to, because they don't feel that they're able to make that right decision. And they get so used to relying on someone else, especially when you've been in a relationship or a marriage with someone who was very controlling and they made all the decisions for you, or you made the decisions together. And now you're out on your own and you're not used to being the decision maker with everything. So quite often it's just like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it because it's easier. It's easier, or you're just not mentally and emotionally prepared to think about the process of it. So you just say, yep, sure. Or because you just feel like you're going to let them down if you say no. So it's just, yep, sure, let's do it. Or because you're used to being the planner. You're used to being the one that just gets up and does it all. So you just say, yes, I'll do it. And then when it comes around to it, or when it comes around to you needing help, you're looking around, where is everyone? And it's crickets. And that's where that resentment builds. And this is why it's so important to remember. Not everyone is going to handle situations the same as you. And quite often when you say yes to something, you think in your head, well, if I do this, they'll do the same for me, or they'll help me out. But if you're not actually saying that, if you're not putting any boundaries in place, you can't expect them to just do that. Even though in theory it's the right thing to do. And a lot of people know that would be the right thing to do. If you help someone out, you help them out when they need it. But unfortunately, not everybody thinks like that, especially when it comes to your ex and the dating world and all these other scenarios that you work with. And your work, for example, your boss, they're not necessarily going to come to the party and help you out when you need it because they're your boss. So when you are in a situation where you don't want to say yes, but you're feeling guilty, or you're feeling like you have to, and you're feeling like you don't want to upset them, I want you to stop and really just think, is this what you want to do? Is this a decision that you're later going to regret? If you read a message or someone sends you something or someone asks you something, I want you to just stop and think about it. And quite often when they ask you in person, that's one that can really catch you off guard when you're asked in person, whether it be your ex at handover time and they ask you something and you're like, oh, whatever, sure, let's just do it because you just want to go. You want to get back home, or you want to just leave. You don't want to be around them anymore. So you're like, yep, sure, whatever. Let's just do this. And then you drive in the car on the way back home thinking, fuck, what did I just agree to that for? Think about what you're saying before you later regret it. And like this applies when people go through mediation. They make all the decisions. Yep, let's just do it. Let's just get this done. They walk out. Shit, why did I do that for? Think about your decisions. Stop saying yes to people, please. Stop saying yes because you're not allowing yourself to think about it. Stop saying yes because you're feeling guilty. You feel like you have to. You feel like you've got to be the strong person. You feel like you've got to be the one that does everything. Stop and really think about what you want to do. So when you're put in a situation where you're asked something that you're not sure if you want to do it, allow yourself time to respond. And as I was just touching on then, if you do get asked this question in person, the best response, and I use this all the time and I love it, let me get back to you on that one. Let me think about it. Let me get back to you on that one. And it works wonders. It's nothing that can be argued with, especially when it comes to your ex. When your ex puts you on the spot and asks something, they might ask for an extra weekend or some extra time or something that you don't know if you want to do. And you know if you agree to it on the spot, you're probably going to later regret it. So just say, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Done. Easy. And it's not something they can start a fight with. You're not saying, well, no, I'm not doing this because of this and reason. You're actually thinking about it. And that is a game changer. And it takes the pressure off you, and it takes the pressure of being caught up in a situation that you don't want to be. So when you're in a situation where you're in person with someone, probably your ex, or even in the dating world, you've gone back in the dating world and maybe they want to ask you out for another date. Maybe you've caught up for a coffee or you've had a quick little first date and they want to see you again and you're in your head thinking, this is not my person, I don't want this. And they're at the end of the day saying, should we catch up again? Are we going to see each other again? And you're like, no. Mentally, you're thinking, no, I don't want this. It's all about having that response. So if you're on a first date and someone asks you that question, instead of saying, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And then in your head, you're thinking, fuck, what I just agreed to that for? Say something like, let's just get through this date first and then let's see how we go. I mean, hey, if you're super confident, then you can say it right then and there. I don't think this is something that I can see going any further than today. Thank you. It's been lovely. It's been nice to meet you, but I can't see this going any further. If you're confident enough to do that, go for it. But don't put yourself in a situation where you're saying yes to a date or yes to something with your boss or yes to something with your friends or with your kids. And you're like, oh, I just wish I didn't do that. And you can't get out of it. But if you give yourself time to think about it, let's get through today first. Let me have a think about it. I'm not sure at the moment. Let me check my schedule. And that's not necessarily related to a first date. That's related to anything. A friend, your workplace, your ex. Have a response to say that buys you time, which does allow you to think about it. Let me think about it. Let me check my schedule. Let me get back to you. These are all responses you can say so you're not put on the spot making a decision that you're later going to regret. And when you can think about it, you can really think about, is this what you want to do? Is this going to make you feel shit afterwards? And that's the important thing. And the more you start to do this, the more confident you feel in yourself. And that's where it all becomes about setting boundaries. Boundaries is a huge thing. And saying no is a boundary. And not only does it make you feel more confident in yourself, when you start doing this more and more and more, you start believing in yourself. You start realizing, well, I don't need anyone to decide this for me. I trust my own decisions. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I'm able to say yes or no. I'm able to decide on this. And quite often when you don't believe in yourself, that's when you just go along with it and say, yeah, sure, I'll just do it. But the more you start speaking up and thinking, well, not necessarily speaking up, but just saying yes or no, more so no if you don't want to, the more you start really believing in yourself. And that is so important because once you can start saying no, that's when you're able to set boundaries in all other areas with your co-parent, with dating, with your kids, with your workplace, with friends. Because the importance is you don't want to live a life where you just get walked all over. And when you keep saying yes to people, that is what happens. And it's not nice, but you do end up getting treated like a doormat because people will take advantage of that. People will take advantage of your kindness. Oh, that's all right. She'll do it. Well, no, she'll say yes. She'll come and do it. She'll be there. And then people will always ask you because they know you always say yes. And then they're not giving it back to you because you're not asking them for anything. But in your head, you're thinking, well, they should be offering. But this is where the more you say no, the more you speak up, the more confident you get. And then when you do start saying yes, that's when you can start setting your boundaries and you get more confident to do that and you start believing in yourself more. Yeah, I can do that. However, I need you to help me with this. And then that's where you get more confident to start setting those boundaries. So when, say, for example, you might be out on a date and, I won't say someone's forgot their money because who even carries a wallet? But just say hypothetically their phone went flat and they can't offer to pay for anything. And then you can turn around and say, yep, sure, I'm happy to pay. Next one's on you. That's your boundary. So instead of just saying, yes, sure, and then you meet up again, then all of a sudden you're splitting it 50-50. You're like, well, hold on, I just paid for the last one. Now we're paying 50-50. How does that work out? It's because you didn't speak up and say anything. So, and some people, they might just think straight away, yep, that's fine, I'll get the next one. But you don't always get decent people like that. They may just take advantage of it. And when you don't speak up, people take advantage of it. Same when it comes to co-parenting. When they're running late or when they want their kids extra time or they want something from you or they want you to maybe buy something or kids need something and they don't have the money and they're asking you to do it. Say, for example, it's the kids' sports activities and fees are due and the ex all of a sudden doesn't have money. Sure, I'll get this term. Next term is on you. Or I'll get these fees, but you need to pay for this. So you don't just say yes and then leave it all on to you. And then you're like, well, shit, I can't afford that. I can't now pay my phone bill. If you say yes to something, you've got to set a boundary. If it's a yes that you don't really want to do, that is. And that comes over time. You build on that. And that's why the more you start saying no, and the more you start really thinking about what you're saying, thinking about how you're responding, the more you give yourself time to really process what you want. Because that's what's the most important here, thinking about what you truly want. And when you're just responding in the moment, you're just going on the fly, you're not thinking about what you want. They've just asked you a question. You said yes just to kind of give an answer. And then you go back, oh, hold on, that doesn't work with me. Or hold on, I can't do that day. I've got something on. Like the ex might have asked to change dates and he said yes on the spot and you've gone back and realized, shit, I can't. And then they're going to get the shits with you because you've asked to swap it back again and then it just turns into a fight. This is why it's so important to really think. Don't respond in the moment. Think about what you want to say. Think about how it's going to affect you. Think if it is going to affect you, if it bothers you, is it going to piss you off? Is it something you can compromise on? If it is, then add a boundary. Or if it's something you just straight away don't want to do, no, sorry, I can't do that this week. Maybe next time, but not on this occasion. It is okay to say no. It is okay to put your needs first. And that's just it. So many people don't speak up for themselves because they feel like their needs aren't important. Their needs aren't important. Everyone else is more important. We'll focus on them. Why should I worry about me for? Well, why shouldn't you? If you don't, then who is going to? You have to look after yourself. You have to look after yourself for you and for your kids because no one's coming to save the day. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to start speaking up for yourself. And to do that, I want you to start by saying no. Sorry, I can't. And that is not being confrontational. That is not being mean. That is not being nasty. That is not being selfish. And even if it is being selfish, then that's not a bad thing either because every now and then you need to be. And being selfish every now and then is not a bad thing because you've got to look after yourself. You've got to look after your needs. So the biggest takeaway I want you all to take away from this episode is to really think about your response. When you're put in a situation and you're someone that always says yes to things and you know it's not what you want to do and you walk away constantly regretting decisions that you've made and you're like, how can I change this? What can I do differently? You got to start responding differently. You got to start handling it differently. And it starts by thinking about it first, thinking about your response instead of just responding in the moment. And if you really, truly don't want to do it, sorry, I can't do that. And it is uncomfortable at the start because you're not used to it. You're used to just saying yes and thinking, well, I'm going to let them down. Well, you know what? If you say yes and you don't want to do it, you're letting yourself down. Why would you rather let yourself down over somebody else? Why would you rather yourself be upset? Start putting your needs first. But just also keep in mind, by saying this, I'm not saying that you need to say no all the time. And I'm not saying that you should never cooperate, because that is not what I'm saying. Yes, cooperate. Yes, have your boundaries. But don't say yes when you don't want to. It's okay to say no. It is okay to be selfish. It is okay to look after your needs. So just remember, think about your response. Think before responding. Allow some time to respond. Don't just respond immediately. And remember, if you're put on the spot in a face-to-face interaction and you don't know how to respond and you feel like you've just got to say yes straight away, just say, let me just check my schedule. I might have something on that day. Let me get back to you. I'm not too sure. I'll see if I can make it work. So many things you can say. But just don't put yourself in a position of saying yes for something when deep down you know you don't want to. So I want to challenge all of you, every single one of you, to try and at least say no this week. If you're someone that always gives in, you're someone that always tries to focus on pleasing everyone else, I want you to try say no. And I want you to let me know how you go. Message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, send me an email. Let me know. And I want you to tell me how it made you feel. And again, you don't necessarily have to be so blunt and say, no, fuck off, not doing it. But you can start the process by saying, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. I'm not too sure. And then respond, say, sorry, I'm not able to do it. Or I can't. No, sorry. So that is your challenge. Try say no and think about your response. Think about it before you respond. Buy yourself some time to really process it. Sleep on it. There is no rush to get back to anyone unless it's for something emergency and they need to know straight away. Then just say, I'll get back to you tomorrow, or I'll get back to you later in the week. Buy yourself time to really think about what you want to do. And then if it's truly not what you want to do, sorry, I'm sitting this one out. That, my friends, is how you start building your confidence. So promise me you'll do it. Promise me you'll let me know how you go. I want to hear from you all. So thank you all for listening. And I really hope you did get something from this. And also, just as I always say, if you do need more support through this, if you do need more support in speaking up, because for some people it's so easy. For myself, I'm used to it now. No, sorry, I'm not doing that. But for others, it's a scary, scary thing. They're not comfortable with it. They've gone their whole life just being a yes person, pleasing everyone else, doing things for everyone else. So if that is something you're very, very uncomfortable with, you're scared of setting boundaries, you're scared to speak up, you just don't know where to start, then let's have a chat. Let's work through this. Let me help you to get you through this. So you're not living a life where you're constantly trying to please everyone else. You're living a life where you please yourself. And it's not about not doing things for anyone else, because I want you to. It's nice to be kind. It's nice to do things for other people, but not at your expense. That's what you need to remember. You're not putting yourself on the back burner just to please other people. If it's every now and then and you don't really want to do it, but you just think, oh, why not? They desperately need someone to help. I will help on this occasion. But if it's an ongoing thing or something that's really putting you out, then say no. Look after yourself. So thank you, everyone. And please reach out if you do need some extra support. That free chat is in my show notes. You can also get the link on my website or my socials. All the links are there. If you want to go into any paid coaching sessions, any one-on-one chats, anything where I can help you further with some one-on-one personalized support, then reach out. This is what I'm here for, to help you through all these tricky, I can't even say the word, tricky stages, tricky challenges of single parenting. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming back week after week. And don't forget, if you're loving the show, give me a review, share it with your single parent friends. Let me know what you're thinking of it, and let me know if you said, no, I'm not doing that. And you might be listening thinking, no, Leanne, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to message you. Well, tap yourself on the shoulder if you did say that, because that's your first no. You've done the challenge. No, that's not it. Don't do that. Don't listen to me. Do a real one. But anyway, Thank you all. Thank you all for coming back. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then.
Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.